My name's Chad Tyndale, and I want to talk to you about a dark thought I had. Right now, there are robots on other worlds, and those robots are looking for signs of life. We point radio antenna and telescopes all over the universe in hopes of finding signs from beyond our world that we're not alone in the universe. But when we take those steps forward, I can't help but wonder what we would actually do if we ever found life on another world. What kind of visiting aliens would humans be? Obviously, humans have created film adaptations of a first contact scenario. Usually, humans are on the receiving end, being visited by benevolent or malevolent beings from beyond our world. In the movie Independence Day, we're visited by these ultra-capitalist aliens who come to Earth and don't even see humans as really being worthy of life if we stand in the way of their greed. In War of the Worlds, aliens are attacking us for reasons beyond our understanding. In the television show V, aliens appear from beyond and kind of are just here to help us humans. Until it's later revealed that they're actually evil lizard people here to start an insurrection and completely obliterate human life. Alternatively, in some movies, it's us humans that travel to the final frontier and discover aliens on their worlds. In Ridley Scott's Alien franchise, there's a bunch of humans on a voyage home when they stumble across an alien who pretty much just treats us like any other animal on the food chain. Though later revisions would draw that back and have an alien species that views humans as more of a science experiment and shows no more reverence for our life than we would a cloned sheep. In James Cameron's Avatar movie, humans can't stop attacking aliens that we find in an undiscovered country because, again, capitalism and resources. So why don't these scenarios ever end with, "and they lived happily ever after"? Obviously, these are all just fictions, so we'll have to use hypothetical thought experiments to figure out what it would really be like if humans found a species living on another planet. I made up distant planets with huge civilizations, and I want you to imagine what you think would happen if humans discovered them. What it would be like if humans met aliens. The first world is mostly water. There's some land, but like 2/3 of it is water. So like the biggest animals on that planet are obviously fish. Well, not exactly fish because, aliens. But as these creatures evolved, they divided up into different tribes. So there's like 40 different tribes, each with their own culture and language. And they've evolved so much separately that you can actually tell them apart by looking at them. Some are black, some are gray, some are black with white spots. Some are huge, but some are not much bigger than humans. They have their own languages, cultures, and even use some primitive tools. Because our biologies are different, we'll never be able to speak the same language, but we can understand each other. Most of the tribes are just peaceful. They're vegetarians. They just hang out, want to raise their young, and live. They're nomadic tribes. But others are more warring and even sometimes have been known to cannibalize the other tribes. They're definitely a primitive culture, but they do have culture, unique languages, and can even learn to speak each other's languages. So then humans arrive, and we discover the inhabitants of this world. We learn of their intelligence, and we learn to primitively communicate with them. Obviously, because these are sea creatures, they don't evolve legs, so coexistence isn't really an option for us. But then something really unfortunate happens. We discover that their biology produces oil. These creatures could be used as a fuel source. So what happens to diplomacy at that point? Well, tragically, this isn't hypothetical at all. Humans really did find this alien species, and we really did encounter it. And if I told you that the alien life was whales and porpoises, you could probably already guess what happened. We sent ships full of men to literally kill and dig the oil out of their bodies. We found intelligent life in the universe, and now we hold fundraisers to try and sustain them. We breed them in captivity because we killed them until they were an endangered species. Now you're probably thinking that's not fair. Whales were discovered in the 1600s, and we really didn't know they were an intelligent species then, so it's easy for us to try to think of them as animals instead of intelligent creatures. And yeah, that's fair. So I guess we're gonna have to go hypothetical again. So let's say humans find a human-like species on another planet, except, they're aliens, so maybe their skin is purple or something. They speak languages and are intelligent enough to learn English, and we can learn their languages. They're not technologically advanced, but they're not primitive either. They make cities and wear clothes. They use tools and study chemistry and art. And unlike our whales, their bodies are not a fuel source. The only thing stealable that they have is the land they stand on. But they have a variety of cultures. They have their own governments that they run. They have their own religions. They play different sports. And they even have knowledge that we don't possess. So we learn new things from them. Technology-wise, they're maybe a couple hundred years behind us now. And that's kind of a best-case scenario for finding life on another planet. But how do we react? As you can probably guess where I'm going with this isn't hypothetical either. Their skin wasn't purple, though, it was brown. And if you still can't guess whether I'm talking about Native Americans or Africans, that's because we didn't just encounter the species once, but many times. And every time we have the same reaction: slavery, murder, rape, genocide. And if you're thinking, well, we've learned a lot since then, you should probably remember why we were okay treating those people so poorly. It's because we didn't view them as human. We viewed them as less than. And how would that same argument not apply to a purple species that we found on another planet? You can absolutely enslave them to do work, just like we do horses. You can rape their women because they're not really people. They don't have free will. And you can genocide them so that you can take their things because, as the more advanced species, really resources would be better off used for us instead of them. The reason that so many alien movies seem to be about hostility is because every time we humans have encountered intelligent life, we've reacted with hostility. It never works out well for the less technologically advanced group. Ever, even once. But why are we looking for life in outer space anyway, when there's an entire ocean that we know is full of life that we haven't even explored? We've only discovered about 5% of the world's oceans. Here I'm using the word discovered to mean more than just identifying that it's there. When it comes to radar mapping the geography of the ocean, just literally learning what the land looks like, we still have only discovered about 10% of the ocean. You might think that I'm only talking about the really deep oceans, like the Marianas Trench, but even the land that the United States claims as its own and will defend if someone tries to invade it, is only 35% mapped out. On other planets, the odds of discovering life are astronomically small, but here in the undiscovered parts of the ocean, it's incredibly high. The logical argument is that if there is an intelligent species here on Earth, they probably would have spread out the same way we would, except when you consider that an intelligent species might also be intelligent enough to know how we react when we find intelligent species. But that raises another question. Intelligence is a spectrum from dumb as rocks all the way over to, let's say, Derek Mueller from Veritasium. And if the Derek Muellers of Earth decided that those dumb as rocks humans were not worthy of rights because they were a different species, it would be kind of hard to argue that that's any less valid than our dumb as rocks people saying that chimpanzees are unworthy of rights because they are a dumber species. Intelligence is a spectrum, and while there are definitely humans that are smarter than every single chimpanzee, there are also some chimpanzees that are smarter than some humans. But we still give those humans rights. This is a chimpanzee named Natasha, and she was singled out for testing because not only was she so smart that she could solve problems, she could solve problems that her human captors didn't think were solvable. She could lie. She would pretend she was hungry so that people would get close enough to her that she could splash them with water. She used tools to disable her electric fence to escape not once, but twice. To say that she's intelligent for a chimp is true, but Also, she's probably smarter than some humans who would not be able to escape her cage. And we still give those humans rights. Now, she's still a chimp, so she's never going to be able to speak English. Her vocal cords haven't evolved to allow that type of speech, but she can understand it, somewhat. And humans who are less intelligent than Natasha still get to vote. They still get to not live in a zoo. Now, I'm absolutely not saying that we should give Natasha the right to vote or own property, but if we were an alien species visiting a planet where Natasha lived, would we give her species rights? Would we take away her freedoms or make her live in a zoo? Or what if we found a species on another planet that was as dumb as our dumbest humans? Would we do the same thing? Now let's reverse it. Let's say aliens find Earth, and they don't find our Derek Muellers, but our dumb as rocks congressman. Would they deem us worthy of rights, or would they put us in a zoo? And maybe the answer to that question is exactly why an intelligent species found on Earth wouldn't want to be found. But what are the odds of us having to worry about this anyway? What are the odds of us finding life on an alien planet? We've only ever found life on one planet, so we don't actually know whether we're just really bad at finding life or if life itself is really rare. But you can't just explore space. When dealing with anything in the cosmos, you also have to consider space-time. We could have discovered a planet that has life on it. We just discovered it long before life started there. Or maybe life did exist there and has since died off. What we can do is calculate, based on the one planet we know had life, what the odds are of finding intelligent life on that planet to be. We can calculate if aliens visited our planet, what are the odds of finding intelligent life on Earth? Well, this one's pretty easy. The Earth is 4.53 billion years old, and life started about 3.5 billion years ago, so aliens have about a 77% chance of finding life on Earth. That was easy. That's a lot. Very encouraging. Except that's not really life we would have found without a microscope. For the vast majority of that time, we're talking about single-celled life, microscopic organisms, just bacteria in an ocean. For multicellular life, we actually don't see that until only 600 million years ago. Well, that's much more recent. In fact, our aliens only have a 13.2% chance of finding anything we would recognize as life here on Earth. Now, you're probably thinking dinosaurs, but no, we're still way too early for that. We're only talking really about some underwater sponges and some fronds at the bottom of the ocean. Land may have some algae or fungus, but anything we would call an animal doesn't really appear until about 540 million years ago. That only gives our aliens an 11.8% chance of finding any type of animal here on Earth. But even still, we're not talking about dinosaurs. That's just trilobites and worms and mollusks. For our aliens to find something on land with at least 4 legs like an amphibian or an insect, well, that only happened about 400 million years ago, giving our aliens an 8.8% chance of just finding land animals. What we traditionally think of as dinosaurs, well, that doesn't happen until about 245 million years ago, or about 6% chance of our aliens finding it. Fun fact, since creatures in the Jurassic period were about 150 million years ago, and it takes the sun about 250 million years to travel around the Milky Way, technically, some dinosaurs are creatures from the other side of the galaxy. I made this fun graphic showing dinosaurs and their existence in the Milky Way. That's our sun, where it currently is at the very bottom there. That's the Tyrannosaurus Rex back in the Cretaceous period. Meanwhile, the Earth is currently traveling to where we were during the Triassic period. Look, you don't have to think it's cool. I think it's cool. So what about after the dinosaurs? They died off about 66 million years ago. So for our aliens to find us at any point since then, they only have a 1.5% chance. So what about humans? If we're being really generous and just classify any bipedal hominin as a human, and so really thinking Australopithecus, not Jeremy from accounting, then that only happened about 7 million years ago. So less than a 1% chance of our aliens finding humans. Another thing to think about is that if aliens did find us, they would be a species capable of traveling to different worlds. And as far as we know, no species, including humans, have ever been able to do that. So if aliens can find us, we're the less advanced species. And it never works out for the less advanced species. So maybe, just maybe, finding life on another world isn't really in our best interest. Thanks for listening.